To tonight's DRB meeting. If you are attending virtually via Zoom, there are a few guidelines I'd like to mention. Everyone is muted and your videos are turned off by default to minimize any disruptions. If you'd like to make a comment during the public hearing portions of this meeting, please raise your hand by clicking on the icon labeled Participants at the bottom of your screen and then click the button labeled Raise Hand. If you're calling into the meeting on a phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9 on your keyboard. Once the moderator calls your name, please unmute yourself by clicking on the microphone button on the bottom of your screen or by pressing *6 on your phone. All right, so I am calling to order the Design Review Board meeting for June 1st, 2021. And so if everyone please could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I'd like to start the meeting with introduction to our staff and board members. If we could start to our left.
Robin McDonald, Zoning Manager.
Shubhajangam, Senior Planner.
Reed Casey, Bethany Road.
Charlie Roberts, Freemanville Road.
Laura Weissong, Crooked Creek.
Jeff Dufresne, Summit Road.
Lee Collins, Westbrook Road.
Beniquis Palmer, Canterbury on the Lakes.
Great. I just wanted to check with anyone if we have any modifications to the current agenda. If so, please state them.
No.
No modifications. Great. Next time, I'd like to approve our April meeting minutes. Are there any modifications to the meeting minutes?
At whatever time it's appropriate, I have one comment on the minutes.
All right. If we could go ahead and make those comments for the record.
On item 6, courtesy reviews, V2109, to allow lot coverage for a CUP. I don't think the comments reflect that we were, as a board, against the CUP use. And it just said reduce the pool house impervious surface and talk to the staff to get the right solution. And that we were all pretty adamant about CUPs. So I just maybe like to make sure that in the minutes we're very clear on our comments, especially if we're against something. That's it.
Great. Thank you. I'm looking for approval of the April meeting minutes with modifications as discussed.
I'll make a motion to approve the April meeting minutes with the modifications as discussed.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. We have 3 demolitions this evening. The first demolition is, the address is 16348 Freemanville Road. And if the applicant could please come forward, state your name and address, and explain your demolition project.
Hi, my name is Michael Kyle, and I'm at 16348 Freemanville Road. It's the northern part of Freemanville Road. Earlier this year, I had purchased about 2.3 acres of a lot that is adjacent to my property, and it has some old, 3 dilapidated structures on it, and it's an eyesore and potential hazard. We have a lot of small children in our subdivision, and so I'm trying to get a permit so that I can basically remove those buildings. I've had the asbestos tested on the buildings, and I've had a rodent litter, and so it was free and clear of those. And there won't be any grading of the land. It's just really a knockdown and clean up. Essentially, that's it.
Okay. I'd like to make a comment to staff and the applicant that it's great to have all these well-done pictures. So you've given us a lot of great pictures. Definitely sways my opinion. And many times we don't have very good pictures or a lot of documentation. So you did a good job on that.
Thank you.
Particularly with the Save the Trees.
Yeah, I love that. I thought that was really good. Yeah, it's very helpful for us.
Well, you guys, I called in with some of the other members as well, and they gave me some good instructions on how to do that. So it's really thanks to you guys. Yeah.
Great. Any other questions for this applicant?
So it's no trees that are going away, you're just kind of taking them up some.
Yeah, there's anything, they're really, I guess what you call them, the under shrubs or under trees, story trees, or they're under 15 inches in diameter.
Okay.
And they're just kind of, and it's not even going to be many. I mean, it's just really trying to make a pathway so the excavator can move around, but most of them are very small trees.
Okay, I was just making sure there wasn't any arborist kind of issues with it, but I'm fine with everything else.
And it actually, once you inside the overstory trees, now.
Okay.
Can I make a motion?
Yeah, I think we're good.
I don't think there's any public comment.
Any public comment? No.
I'd make a motion to approve as submitted 16348 Freemanville Road for demolition.
I'll second.
All right.
All right, all in favor?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Our next demolition request is 1255 Birmingham Road. If the applicant could please come forward.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I'm Scott Reese with Bromwell Reese & Associates, doing business at 13685 Highway 9, Milton, Georgia, 30004. I'm here tonight representing the Sergile family in their application to demolish the existing house, the pool, and the tennis court located at 1255 Birmingham Road. This was the former four-seater horse farm that we did for William Locke some mid-'80s, I guess. The house has fallen into disrepair, been vacant. It's covered with the pseudo stucco. It's got major problems with moisture. So the applicant, the new purchaser, the Sergile family, their intent is to remove these structures and rebuild as soon as we can go through the process for the site plans for the new construction. So they will be keeping the property intact and removing these structures and rebuilding.
So just to confirm, we're keeping the barn and the guest house in front of...
Yes, I will be back later to go into detail on that. That's a separate process.
Any questions just regarding the demolition for the applicant? No, looks like no questions. Somebody would like to make a motion?
No questions.
Make a motion.
Well, the public.
If somebody would like to make a motion?
Oh, we got to check.
Need to let the public.
Oh, yeah, public.
We have no
We
public
don't-
tonight.
Two people
Okay.
left.
I'll make a motion to approve the demo for 1255 Birmingham Road.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Okay. Our third demolition is 15135 Hopewell Road. If the applicant could please come forward, state your name and address.
Hey, good evening. My name is Chris Owens. I represent the property owners of Trophy Club Atlanta. My address is 7425 Mid Broadwell Trace in Alpharetta, Georgia. The current owners of the Trophy Club recently acquired the property with the plan and intent to decommission the golf course and turn it into a large lot development plan. I believe the code calls it 3 acres or more. They're planning 34 lots on 180 acres, which averages out, for quick math for you, that averages out to about 6 acres per lot. The first step would be to close the golf course after the peak season this summer. And what you have before you is an application to remove the clubhouse, the cart barn, the maintenance shed. There are a couple of restroom facilities and a couple of weather shelters on the property. We are working with the staff now to get a plat through the process, and then we would come forward with land development plans for infrastructure to get ready for the lots and the homes that would eventually be built.
And who's the current owner?
So Trophy Club Development Partners. It's a group of investors here based in Atlanta. Actually, Steve Smith is one of the principal partners in that, and he is a resident of Crooked Creek. He's been a long-time Milton resident.
I know Steve really well.
And Plum Creek is a consultant? Or?
Plum Creek Consulting is me. That's my consulting firm. I'm a licensed civil engineer.
Gotcha.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
They have closed on the property.
They have, yes, sir.
And when are they going to shut it down?
They're currently looking at July of this year. Their peak season, their peak time of the year is July 4th weekend, and then the weather gets so hot that business does fall off. So they're looking at closing it down sometime in July to start the construction process with the goal of finishing the infrastructure installation of the streets by the time weather hits this winter. So it would be, construction be ongoing this summer and fall.
Okay. I've got a couple more questions. I did, full disclosure, go out, meet the real estate broker, look at the plats, the way it's broken up, and ride the entire golf course.
Oh, very good.
And look at every lot last week. Obviously, this is a giant development.
It is a large piece of property. The plats or the plans I turned in don't do it justice. It's such a large scale.
Yes. So next, have you filed for an LDP? As we look at demos, normally you'd have an LDP on this size development. So have you got your plans done? And
We have submitted for a minor plat, and we're in the review process for that, which does precede the LDP. Robert Buscemi and staff have been very helpful in that process. They're looking at the minor plat now, and we have actually submitted parts of that LDP application to them to start considering. For instance, stormwater is one of the biggest issues of a development of this scale, so we're already having those conversations. We have not filed that permit package yet, but we do intend to here in the next week or so, and given the schedule, we did not want to wait until your July hearing to present this to you.
Okay, so you're in the process of moving toward an LDP.
Yes, sir.
Okay, those were my questions.
Yep. So there are a number of homes that back up to several holes on this golf course.
That is correct.
So has there been communication with those homeowners?
There has been some communication go out. Unfortunately, there was an attempt to purchase this property a number of years ago that proposed a much higher density product. And some of the homeowners around the perimeter still are the belief that there's a desire to build much more dense product than what they're planning on now. The homeowners they have been in contact with, once they find out it is a large lot development, they're much more accepting of it and much more interested in hearing more about it. Because many of the people we've talked to, quite frankly, thought there were going to be a lot more homes out there based on that previous plan that was circulated by a marketing agency, I believe.
I would have a huge concern for some of the lots that actually are on the golf course that a home is going to go in back of them when they bought their property. I live in Crooked Creek. I'm on a golf course, and we have easement rights between the golf course and us.
I'm very familiar with Crooked Creek. I've done consulting work for your HOA, and I'm familiar with the structure of that HOA and those easements. Those easements do not exist on this property, of course.
Yeah, I understand that, but there still has to be some sort of communication with those homeowners before any sort of, I think, development happens. It needs to be definitely, it's got to be strongly included in moving forward with anything, at least from my perspective.
Certainly.
I get it. I mean, yes, I used to play golf over there, so I'm
Sure.
very familiar with the course. Know a lot of people that live over there, and understand, golf courses took a dive and there's been hardships, and I totally get that. But I think you got to be really cognizant of the current homeowners and I guess I would have a very hard time moving forward on any demolition until I understood more about the communication that's happened with the homeowners who are backing up to those golf course lots, and what the perspective is, because there's some strong people that live over there, and if they're not aware of it, this thing could come back and be quite ugly. I mean, you may have talked to some people, and maybe some people are on board. I know a lot of people, I don't know that they would be. I think that's got to be much more clarified.
Can I just interject? This is the first major development that is the large lot subdivision, and that normally if it was a normal sub 3 acre size lots, they would be required to go do a preliminary plat before the Planning Commission, and at which time that's when we would send out notices for them to know that there might be a development coming down the line, just like I think what you're speaking to, making awareness. And because this is more of a streamlined process, we don't have that. But at the same time, it is, by right, and that this is the process of, the minor plat, which does not require any notification, and then the applicant will go into the LDP. But I think if you go back to Mr. Smith and maybe send out letters specifically to all the adjacent property owners, and just, I know I've gotten phone calls in the past, and I've encouraged the applicant to be speaking to them. And I think they had a marketing plan. They wanted to, kick it off in a certain way, but I think they're past that. And,
They have. That's
right.
one thing.
And so, I totally get how normally, in normal circumstances, the adjacent property owners would be notified about a potential subdivision coming in. So, but just want to clarify the difference.
I quite well understand the whole 3 acre lot. I am saying, because of you're taking a property that was for one thing initially, and now you're changing it. You're changing the demographics of that property, and with homeowners who are already there. And I'm sorry, I cannot be on board with that, and I will have conversations with City Council regarding it, definitely, strongly. So what I'm saying is, I would highly recommend that you send out letters to the homeowners and meet with those who are interested. Because I can tell you, I will strongly recommend to council, I will not be on board with that until that happens. Now, if everybody's on board, I'm fine with it. If they're happy with it, I'm happy with it. But I clearly understand, if I had a piece of property over there, there is no way I would do that without clearly understanding what's happening.
Robin, I have a question along this line. What is the property zone now?
AG1, agriculture.
So they can build 1 acre lots.
Right, yeah.
Require LDP, it would require all the other things, and notice.
Right, preliminary plat. If it was sub 3 acre, you have to have minimum 3 acre lots for all the lots to comply or be a candidate for large lot, and not do the preliminary plat. So a preliminary plat would be a subdivision of more than 3 lots that are less than 3 acres each. So, yes.
So, but just looking at this piece of property, they could build 1 acre lots.
They could, yes.
But there would be, as Laura's saying, a lot of notice, and all the homeowners would know about it.
Right, through a preliminary plat process, not a rezoning, but just the preliminary plat, where you all, I'm not you all, Planning Commission has the opportunity to look at it once we've reviewed it and make sure it meets all the rules and regulations of the subdivision regulations, as well as the zoning ordinance. So the large lot does skip that preliminary plat process.
Yeah, so it skips Planning Commission too.
Correct, yes.
Problematic.
What else you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I mean, in my mind, I'm a no right now until these things get worked out.
Can you expand on why you're a no? I'm not understanding.
Very strongly no, because this is a large community of large homes that sit on an old golf course now. That's not going to be a golf course, and they're going to have homes built in back of them. Mm-hmm. Now, if that was my property, There's no way I would want that in back of me. So I don't care how big the lot is. I bought on a golf course lot for a reason, because nobody will ever be in back of me.
So
I paid premium for that. Okay, so Trophy Club's different. It was a different development. It's not like Crooked Creek. So the easement rights that we have didn't exist there because it was a public-private course. But regardless, you have people who have lived there for several years, and it's, a decent-sized community. I have many friends who live there, and I think we have to do due diligence before, I can't approve demolishing something until I understand where the homeowners are. And then if everyone's on board, sure, I'm happy to move forward, but
Yes.
I won't. now.
Chris, I would tell you that in writing it last week, because, I felt like Laura feels, and just about the whole golf course is surrounded by like 3 neighborhoods. They're little pocket neighborhoods, but these big houses do just roll right down onto that beautiful green golf course. So I might layer something in along Laura's concerns for our citizens. And that would be, have you done a plan that shows us the building pads? Because as I studied every one of those lots, some of them are very long and narrow. So where's the house going to go? And we're looking up the hill at the other houses. And some of them are way down the hill, steep terrain, golf course. And those house pads, building pads, locations would not bother the homeowner above very much. So I'm a developer. We know each other.
We've met before, yes, sir.
So I hear the developer wanting to get going. I'm definitely for this project. It's going to be great. I'm also in touch with where Laura is about our citizens. And do you have any suggestions on how we might accomplish those goals? And when I met with the sales rep, he didn't know anything about where the houses are going and not much of anything. And here's a big lot and everything was beautiful. And
Mr. Roberts, no offense, but he is a land salesman. He's not a planner or an architect or an engineer.
that was clear.
So that's probably why, not that he was withholding information, just that he didn't have it.
So if we, following Laura's thoughts here and the concerns, after the other golf course that the city bought and now this one's happening, I concur with her concerns. And this just hit the market in the world a week ago, or I think last Monday.
Word's been out there quite a bit longer than that. I can attest to the phone calls we've received. But yes, sir.
Word. But as the sales rep told me, we're going to go live with the story on Tuesday. I was there before it went live on Tuesday.
Right.
So, let's hear some other board members' discussion on this.
Well, that's the role of the design review committee. It's not only compliance with the adjoining design, but it's also the neighbors, the impact on the surrounding community. Now, that could be won over, or there could be trouble. I do agree that there needs to be some transparency, and get them supportive of it. If it's as good as it sounds, I think they'd welcome it. But I think the onus is on the developer to win over if he's doing the right thing, I think.
And I had one other comment I forgot is, it is a great development. It is big lots. It's everything we want in Milton, unless in your backyard, that lot's forcing a house right up against your house when you have a golf course view. For that individual, or multiple individuals, it could be the worst thing. Overall, big support, great things, what Milton wants, but as Laura has pointed out, all those homeowners, if they don't know and understand, and then I'm sure every individual lot owner is going to say, where's the building pad that's going behind me?
So Mr. Roberts, the announcement that J.D. Kent was referring to when he described that to you, they have launched a website where anybody can go and see the master plan for the property. And the architect is Stephen Fuller. If you know Stephen, he has helped master plan that. He and I have done that together. He is doing a conceptual plan for every lot in this subdivision. And someone can go on that website and they can pick a lot and they can see what Stephen envisions for that lot. Now, obviously, it's not the final home design because that's going to be dictated by the lot buyer. We expect that many of these purchasers are going to bring a builder with them because these will be custom homes. If you're buying a 6-acre lot, you're going to likely have a vision of what you want to build. There will be architectural restrictions on the property, and the buyers are going to be encouraged to use Stephen as their architect. If they do not, then Stephen and I become the design review board for the neighborhood. So there will be an extensive process. The neighbors, now that that website is live, a neighbor can go online, and if they back up to, let's just say, lot 5, they can see what the size of the lot, the configuration, and what type of development is being envisioned there. So that information is just now available. I hear your concern, and I do respect that for the community. We would not argue with a stipulation that notices be sent out to the surrounding property owners, even though that's not required by code. We would not have an issue with that. Certainly don't have an issue with holding an open house for information for anybody. I do have some reservations about using this process to get in the way of what's allowed by right under zoning. So I would encourage you to help us with that. But I do see your side of it and would be more than happy to make sure that those neighbors are being contacted and information is being put forth for their information.
Since you are veering into a little bit of legal there,
Yeah.
I want to come back and say it's not us. We just sit here at the pleasure of the council who have been elected by these citizens, and we serve the citizens. It's not our opinion. We're doing what we think those homeowners would want us to do.
I understand completely. I served over 8 years on Alpharetta City Council, also as mayor pro tem there.
Okay, so you understand we're representing the citizens, not our.
I have a business in the city of Alpharetta, so
Yeah,
I know Mayor Gilvin and all the others. So I'm very
And again,
familiar
I want to be on the record. We love the Big Lot program,
Fantastic.
encouraged it, and
Yes.
we think this is a great one too. So
It's just there are some unique issues here for our citizens, and I serve on this due to I was asked to serve. I'm a volunteer here, but like all of us, we get calls when things are not, don't go well.
as you did on Alpharetta,
That's exactly
you know
right.
that drill.
Yes, sir.
So understand, I'm very aware of legalities here. I've been on this board for quite a while, so as have many others here. So, I have to think of citizen issues right now, and I would like to understand where those citizens are before I make a commitment to move forward with something, and that is the problem here.
I can appreciate and certainly I'm on board with notifying and informing citizens. There's nothing to be hidden here. There's no, ulterior motive on the behalf of this applicant. However, I did hear a comment during your discussion regarding getting everyone on board. I cannot guarantee that. And this is, again, that's why I mentioned what's by right, Mr. Roberts, is, again, we all we can do is inform and educate. However, I would be hesitant to say if we came back forward to you in front of you again, if 100% of people were not on board, or if, quote, the wrong person, or if a certain number, I don't know what that is, are not on board, I would hate to get to that sticking point with you, because that's a standard that I don't believe is in your charter as a DRB and as a city. I don't want to debate that with you. I'm not aware of that. That seems like an arbitrary standard. So I just want to make sure what my charge is when I leave here.
I don't think anybody said 100%,
No,
Chris.
I
I think you're veering off again,
We're not.
which is your right to do in this public hearing. But nobody said 100% or set a standard for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would not. You can't get 100% of anything anymore. So, realistically, I think for me, I would like to see the open house. I'd like to be there so I can hear what those citizens have to say. And, if everyone's on board, I'm good with it. I really don't have an issue.
Lee, what do you think?
I think this thing kind of got triggered pretty quickly. And I could tell you, Like most folks, are busy, they have kids, they have jobs, they're not looking at all this stuff. If they read the Milton Herald, good luck. I mean, they probably don't have time. So I would say majority of them probably are not aware at this point. So awareness would be helpful. I think that's what we need. I need to understand and hear if there are any dissensions, what are they, and let me understand them, and then let's move forward if it makes sense. That's where I am. I'm not saying your project is a bad one. I'm very for 3-acre plus lots. I'm on board with that. So I'm in Charlie's camp. I agree with that. But this is a unique situation, and I do need to understand where folks are. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't understand where those folks are on this project, really.
I think that there are only 3 issues or not even issues, I'll just say items to note. It's now our subdivision is kind of going through the potential development, and the concerns that we have as neighbors are, one, I know a lot of times no one ever wants to get nailed to a schedule, but something that gives us some milestone dates on, okay, the clubhouse is going down, this is going to happen, just something to track so that things don't belabor and get pushed out for months and months and months. That gives us a guideline on, okay, how long is this thing going to take? And then me personally, I want to get into the weeds of things as far as logistics. Okay, when this happens, how are construction vehicles coming in and out? And again, how long is it going to last? Those are things that I personally want to know, and I would think those neighbors would want to know. And the third item is, okay, you said that people will bring in their own developer or their own builder to build on their lot.
That's correct.
And you guys as the consultant or somebody's going to serve as a DRB to kind of,
Correct.
Okay, before it comes back
Absolutely.
to us.
Each individual lot will obviously have to have its own building permit.
Right.
And prior to submitting to the city, that homeowner and that lot owner will have to get approval from the HOA's design review board process.
Okay.
So there will be an architectural standard that most building codes don't look at.
Okay.
They'll have to meet the right theme and proportion and scale. And there's also going to be a schedule requirement if a lot owner purchases a lot for them. They can't just buy the lot and hold it in perpetuity.
And with that is kind of a sub part. Will the criteria that you guys have be in coordination with what's already in place, so we don't have 32 homes that look completely different than what's already there?
Absolutely. Mr. Fuller is a very well-known architect, and I can give you his credentials to go and look at his website, but that is what he excels at.
Right.
Is setting guidelines for the home buyers or home builders so that you don't get 32 homes that don't look right together. But at the same token, you don't want 32 homes that look like they came out of a cookie cutter.
That's right. So yeah, my 2 things are personal schedule, just something that you can't get into the fine-tune things, but something that tells me where this thing is going. How are we going to get there?
I'm prepared to answer that. I didn't know that was something you all were interested in, but
like I said, it's a subdivision that I'm in, getting ready to do something like that. No one can ever tell me, so how long is it going to take, and when are we going to get? No one can ever nail that down. And then logistics. As a resident here, what am I going to see every day?
Right.
All day? Am I going to have to deal with this for 2 years, 5 years, a year?
That's fair. That's fair. No, the plan is to demolish, to come in, use the existing driveways and parking lots for the clubhouse, the cart barn, and the maintenance shed.
Okay.
Because they're paved and no need to disturb anything. There is one sweet gum that we do need to remove to pull the cart shed out and use the parking lot to access that rather than going in and clear cutting that area, because trees have been allowed to grow up close to that cart shed. So we do have that indicated on the plan. It'd be 3 to 4 weeks to take down the larger structures in total. The smaller structures that are on the plans we submitted, the bathroom houses are literally a small outhouse with a toilet and a sink. They're as big as this podium and tall enough to step inside. The weather shelters are the size of a covered patio at your home. They're approximately 15 by 15, and it's 4x4 posts with a asphalt shingled roof over them. So those smaller structures are going to be taken down by hand labor, and pickup trucks are going to use the existing cart paths to get in and out of there.
Okay.
So it'd be very light work there, and the larger work being using the existing paving up front for the larger structure.
In grading?
Not under this permit.
Okay.
I'm less fearful of how the end product will look. I agree, Charlie. I think the large lots are something we want. I think it'll look beautiful. Don't really have any worry about how it will end up. The point about where the actual home sites will be is probably the biggest question, because that impacts property owners' value. If you have a golf course view and suddenly you're looking at the back of a house, your house is not worth what it was.
Mm-mm.
I think that's where the storm really comes. But I think that could be worked through. I think it should be encouraged to help you get where you need to be. Because again, we want large lots. We don't want 1 acre lots. We don't want land constantly getting divided smaller and smaller.
I think I fully believe the community as a whole, again, I can't guarantee 100% acceptance, but the community as a whole will be very proud of this development. The homeowners that live against a course, it's a double-edged sword. Yes, they have a view of a course. There's also a ball retrieval easement across every one of those lots where golfers can legally come onto their property and retrieve a golf ball. And several of the homeowners have cart path access easements on their property. So literally it's not golf course property, it's the homeowner's property with a cart path across it for the carts to drive in between their homes all day long. Those homeowners are going to get their yards back, and those cart paths will go away. So I agree with you 100%. My in-laws lived on a golf course in Florida that went bankrupt, and they didn't back up to the course, but some of their friends did. And they had to go out and hire their own people to bush hog and clear the course until the course got its footing back legally again after a certain number of years. So I get it. I understand what could happen there, some of the bad things that could happen. But I do believe overall, you're talking about homes, you're talking about lots that are going to sell for quite a bit of money, and then the homes are going to be worth a lot and pull up the property values around as a whole would be the goal.
Chris, if I could, I agree with everything you just said, but there's a dozen, I believe the homeowners will like it. I believe they like big lots. I think Laura's point is she would like to know you've sent a letter to them and they've responded. And instead of, I believe, and we go through this where people want variances, and we say, if you talk to your neighbors, and do you have a letter from your neighbors? And sometimes that's 6, 8, 10 neighbors. And they submit those letters, which gives us great comfort that those adjacent homeowners are fine. And so I agree with you. I believe they're going to be happy. I believe it's a great thing. I believe they'll get their path back. But we don't know that sitting here. And we'll move on here. Reed, you need to bring in.
Well, I would agree with Benny more than the other piece of the conversation. I just want the site to be clean. You wouldn't want all those little outbuildings and houses and restrooms that are on the golf course or whatever's out there to just be torn down and be a pile of wood, lumber, or whatever for a long time, construction debris. I hear I'm in the real estate business. I've walked this property with buyers, and I think the majority of what I'm hearing is people are very excited. Even the neighbors that live around there are excited about it, that it's going to bring their values up. I can't speak for everybody that may worry about the view that they may not have on a golf course, but I think generally speaking from what I'm hearing, this is going to be an asset to our community with 5, 6 acre lots. I don't know that I have the right, I don't know that this board does, or I don't know if anybody does, Robin, to tell them exactly where they can put their homes on their lots.
So long as they meet the setbacks.
Yeah, you got setbacks, and you put your home wherever you want. This is a lot this guy wants to buy, or several. It seems to be his right to do that. Maybe you can make a condition to send notice out to the neighbors, but this gentleman's making an improvement to a piece of property. I don't know that I don't. It doesn't feel like the right thing to do.
And I do. So
what's that?
I live in that area. I know that area. Okay, so I know that community. That's all I'm saying.
I guess what I'm asking
key
is,
data points.
Are you trying to put a condition that he just sends notice out?
I am going to put a condition.
Okay. So we will be voting.
You don't have to agree on it, but I am going to ask if anyone needs to make a public comment. Sir, did you have a public comment? Okay.
I think he's just observing tonight.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So my plan is I am going to recommend conditions before approval, that that a letter is sent out, that there is an open house, that there is plans or site settings so people can see those. And those are my conditions. So I've already expressed my issue with starting any project yet until people are on board. I mean, this has been the design review board requirement is to have people that live right there to speak, have their words spoken. And that opportunity does not exist right now, and that's concerning.
Chris, what would you tell us that you're willing to do and you will do if it's a condition?
Well, I mentioned earlier, Mr. Roberts, we're more than happy to send a letter to the adjoining property owners. We have the information available. That letter would reference them to the website that is up and live where they could go explore that proposed product on their own. And if you saw fit, I would not object to holding an open house for information purposes. Again,
You got a good building before you demo it.
I'm sorry?
You have a good building where you could invite them over.
Absolutely, yeah, there's clubhouse there.
Before you demo it.
Yes, sir. So certainly it wouldn't be an issue. I just, again, if that's the condition, I believe we could live with that. And that goes to that question of what bar are we talking about setting. But informing is not an issue because we're marketing it anyway.
And you got some beautiful site plans and things that maybe, yes, they can go to the website, but there's nothing better than having somebody honestly come complain to the developer about, I'm worried about, because they're all going to have some worry.
Mm-hmm.
Something new in your backyard other than a golf course is going to give rise, if you owned it, you'd have concerns. Something's coming other than a golf course. And obviously the cart paths didn't bother them because when they bought their houses and built them, they were fine with that.
The lots that I showed, the people interested in buying did not want to see the neighbors as much as I'm sure the neighbors want to see them. And hopefully that's the way it works out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. In the normal, and even if this was a raw piece of ground, these concerns, these homes have been built, here's the last piece of ground that's getting built, these concerns come up in anything that gets done. And I think Laura's concern is that people she knows, neighborhoods she represents on the board be notified.
Yep.
So are you going to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that, I think before approval, having letters go out, open house, and letting folks provide their input before we move forward with any project would be helpful, so that within 30 days, then come back, and if we hear no complaints or everybody's on board, then we'll move forward.
Again, just as a point of clarification, Ms. Wysong, you said if everybody is on board and no complaints.
I'm not saying 100%. If I don't hear anybody complaining or nobody gets up and expresses their concern, I'm fine.
We would take exception to that. Just to be on the record, no offense, I hear where you're coming from, but, and not to belabor the point, but no complaints and everyone on board is a very different standard than what we just discussed.
Yeah, we understand that's unreasonable.
Yeah.
And
If nobody shows up and provides comment, then I think we're good. I mean, seriously.
But if one person shows up...
Well, one person is one person. If I get a full room of people, I'll be concerned. If I get one or two people, I wouldn't be concerned.
Well, how about
So
if-
I don't know, a motion has not been put on the table yet, correct? I don't believe so. I'm going to make a motion to approve the demos with the conditions that the gentleman gives the public notice, just like he said,
and an open house would be nice.
in an open house.
I'll second that.
With that.
I just want to clarify. So you go ahead and approve it, and then we wouldn't issue the actual building permit for the demolition until such time that that has occurred, that the notices have been sent out and the open house has occurred.
But what
Because the
happens?
next step would be for him to get the physical permit, a building permit to demo. I know that's oxymoron, but so that's just a way to measure time.
To
and-
clarify, not having feedback coming in, there's no waiting period for the public to provide letters or anything like that. You have an open house, you send out information, and
Yeah, I think
that's it.
Robin's saying, I think I hear his motion is to approve with your agreement prior to demoing anything. You're still playing golf till July 1st.
At least.
And you're still getting your building permit, demo permit to do it. But in this time frame, and let me put on the record, nobody's better than you are. You have a long history of being a good civil engineer. We won't look at your political leanings. And nobody's better than Steve Fuller. And if you two are the architectural committee, I've admired Steve's work for 30 years.
It's impressive.
And he has done work for me, and nobody's better. And he's just, especially one of these big, expensive home deals, he is very class act. So it will be good, and it's going to be good for Milton. So your motion wants to take into account Laura's concern, and you're going to give them written notice. And I think give them the courtesy of coming to maybe 2 opportunities to come to an open house and meet you all, because you're a great speaker. Steve is. If y'all did just hour and a half, 2 hours of socializing the ideas, then they know, and there's nobody unhappy and surprised and angry that in their backyard, it doesn't matter if it's 3 or 6 acre lots, it's in somebody's backyard. And I just looked at all these beautiful patios that are going to be, a lot of the houses are much higher, so they're going to be looking at rooftops. The existing homes are on higher grades than what's going to be built down below. And so I think that's a great thing to do for the community and for you as a developer to do. And I think it's reasonable for Laura to ask you that. And that would get my vote on board with Reed's motion if it encompasses Laura's request.
Okay, so Chris needs to do things, open house and communication, but there needs to be some baseline of acceptability. I mean, if somehow it's a hornet's nest.
How would we get in the weeds on acceptability for a neighbor when they don't own this property? He's allowing them to give his opinions.
I know. He's transparent. We're asking him to be transparent. So he is transparent and say a material amount, and I don't know I can't define materiality, but enough people have a problem.
If all of them had a problem, Jeff, we can't do anything.
No, what's that? At some point in the night, we got to define it, measure it. I don't know. I mean, it's not
way out of our realm of what this board is doing here, and I would be highly opposed to that.
I mean, this is by right. I mean, as much as people would not like it, and I think the point trying to be made is to make people aware of what's going on, having discussions. I think many times when there's unknowns, people get really nervous. They don't understand. They get frustrated. They get nervous. They get, they make assumptions that aren't necessarily true. And I think the more information you get out there, the more discussions you have them, I think you're going to eliminate the majority of concerns or issues, or that, Chris as well as the architects can hear what they have to say and have that communication. But legally, this is by right. It wouldn't matter if there were 100 of them.
100% no.
It doesn't
he
matter.
legally can develop his property.
Right.
Really? I mean, seriously, if my property was there,
that becomes.
You've got to be kidding me. No,
you could make
absolutely not.
You could make a civil issue out of it, but from a zoning and municipal viewpoint,
and
we're
on a different plane of thought here, but that's fine.
Let's ring in.
Question then.
Let's ring in that, and it's defined by right, it's AG, and they can build 1 acre lots.
Minimum, yeah.
And so they're not building anything but bigger. And then they're coming in under a new ordinance that we have that they're going to meet every part of. So this isn't a rezoning.
Correct.
And then it would be at council, and council could deny it if they chose to. But this isn't a rezoning.
Right.
So, I mean, just legally where we sit, we can't step over into that. And Chris clearly knows the law. He let us know that 2 times, and which is his right. And I agree with him. That's the law. So I think you've done a great job worrying about the neighbors. And it's a great asset coming to Milton by right, under the rules, and you're willing to go out there and make, again, this team, it's very impressive when you see it, Laura, and you ride it, and you know about Steve, and it could have been a bankrupt golf course, and it could be all 1 acre lots. So there's a whole lot to be happy about, and you need to explain that to the neighbors, and try to get 100% of them behind you. And really take this seriously.
I just have one question, and I think it'll wrap it up for me as far as I'm concerned. After you have the meetings, and this kind of ties into what you said, Laura, say you have the open house and somebody has an issue with it, what recourse does that person have? They can't really do anything because the train has left the station. Am I right? After say he leaves here and next Monday he decides to have an open house for the residents, and they are just adamant against it, but we've already approved it. They really don't have they really have no more ammo to fight it at that point because we've already approved it. I'm just making sure I understood that correctly.
You do, and I'd add one twist. We have no right to turn it down.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, just
That's
because
all I
we
wanted to
think
make
somebody
sure.
may not like the view.
That's correct.
It doesn't make any
Always
sense.
legal
That's what I
avenues.
was.
But it
If you're a
registers
homeowner, you
that
can
things
always
need to be dealt
do
with
the legal route.
carefully and with respect to the other residents in the community. It's a courtesy.
All right, I think
Making sure we hadn't
So-
shut the barn and they had no other thing
we
that they could do. Yeah, you told me about it, but you didn't give me any options to, to do anything about it. And so that's why.
they're not rezoning the property. They're not asking for variances. They're meeting all the laws.
Technically, they're doing less than they could.
Not technically, they really are
Very much
doing
less.
32 lots versus 188. Well, you got water, and you might get 100 lots instead of 32. You have a motion.
You have a
want to repeat
motion
your
on the
motion?
table to approve the demo, subject to the owner providing public notice to those surrounding homes that touch this property, and holding an open house prior to the demo being done to receive their comments on the property.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Thank you, gentlemen, ladies.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. All right, courtesy review, item V21-12-1255 Birmingham Road. If the applicant could come forward. I think I know that person.
I have a thumb drive if it would be helpful, or I can do overhead. I don't know that we're going to need. Where are we going to do it? Madam Chairman of the Board, I'm Scott Reese with Brumlow Reese & Associates, doing business at 13685 Highway 9, Milton, Georgia, 30004. I'm here tonight representing the Sergile family and their application for a couple of variances for pre-existing conditions. This is the former four-seater farm that was developed under William Locke in the mid-1980s. At that time, he has this 22-acre parcel. He constructed the lakes, the large house in the back with a pool and tennis court. And also there was a guest house constructed along with 2 stables. The guest house and the stables are non-compliant with existing Milton ordinance to go forward with the construction of the new residence. It was technically, I think, called non-compliant grandfathered at present, but to move forward, we need compliance. So, as you see on the screen, this is an aerial of the 22 acres. The house is in the rear. I'm dictating. Birmingham Road is to the north. House is to the south. You see the two lakes. The buildings in question are here. This is the guest house. This is the large stable, and this is the small 3-stall stable. Let's see if I can zoom. So I'm going to slide this. You're really only going to get kind of the road view. This will give you a better detail of the two stables and the guest house. Just want to give you an idea of what it looks like. And then see the lakes and the house and pool and tennis court to be removed in the rear. So these are pictures of the stables. You'll see on the what I'm calling the right-hand side, the large stable. On the left is the 3-stall stable. This is a view of the guest house or cottage, north view, the side from the, if you were at the east looking to the west, west looking to the east, and then the same on these elevations. All right, that's the residence. So that's where we're at. It's pre-existing conditions that have been in effect for 35 years. It's, once again, where we're talking about the preservation of the equestrian rural heritage in the city of Milton. As far as neighborhood concern, it's the passive park of the city of Milton purchased. So the impact of leaving these structures as they have existed for the past 35 years should be minimal. I think this is what, if we're going to press or try to incentivize the preservation of the equestrian lifestyle and the horse farms in Milton, this is just kind of the part and parcel that goes along with that. So I hope I've given you kind of an overview.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So the structure, all the structures are there and they're not being changed or remodeled.
That is correct.
And the code's 1,500. And do you have any idea what the square footage
It is shown on the.
It's like 16 and the odd change.
Okay.
It's on the site plan, and if you'll give me just 1 second, I will give you. It is exactly 1,604 square feet.
Just slightly over, and like you say,
Yes.
it's been there forever.
Yes,
So the neighbors can't be unhappy because it's already there.
it was there before they were. So
Okay, that's all my questions.
So the neighbor, it looks like, Scott, is the city of Milton.
that is correct.
Yeah, okay. City of Milton, okay with
Y'all have any problems with that?
Okay. I actually think that the 100-foot for housing animals is kind of silly, but silly rule.
It has its purpose especially when we had commercial poultry houses that were, and it was not in that distant future
That would
there
not
were
be silly.
25 or 30, and that was the incentive. And there were some Jake Hughes here at the silos had a 100 horse stable, and when you think of it was. When commercial agriculture, when the dairy was at Little River Farms, it was a legitimate concern. If you're milking 300 head of Holsteins and the flies, the manure, everything, agriculture is not just a bucolic scene as you ride along the road. So,
Not the painted horse.
Yeah. So, but in this case, in these farms where we're talking about, 312 stall. It probably is, but erring on the side of caution, it's hard to make a rule that hits every target. So I think it's a pretty good.
I'd make a motion to
Yes.
approve this as submitted.
Well,
Second.
we do not vote. This is a courtesy review, so we
Courtesy.
provide input to the Board of Zoning Appeals. So our comments will be denoted as such in the record.
And our comments
Yeah.
are, we like it, and it's there.
Yeah.
And we're all for it.
And we're glad to keep it there.
We're much appreciative of your affirmative. Thank you, Mike.
Instead of
Thanks,
Milton,
Scott.
Milton.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. No final reviews this evening. Any new business? I guess the only new business I would have is, to make a comment on the retaining wall ordinance regarding the Design Review Board actually reviewing those, that it would be helpful if maybe there was a change made there where the Design Review Board did not review those, that it was city staff. I
Okay.
think we had that discussion.
Are we going to make a motion and vote on that we'd like for them to move forward with making those changes?
What would be your preference?
Sure, you can make if you all want to vote on it and make a motion to what your desires are.
Jeff?
I move that the DRB not be necessary to review retaining wall submissions. It's not really a design issue. It's more of a structural.
I will
I'd
second.
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any other new business? Any old business? Then we are officially adjourned.